Ready to ditch the overwhelm. We're diving deep into prioritizing like a pro. And don't worry, we're not just making lists.
Nope. This is about way more than that.
Exactly. This deep dive is all about how to prioritize your tasks at work and in your private life.
Sounds intense.
It is, but in a good way.
Hmm.
This article is packed with insightful tips.
Like what?
Well, it really stresses understanding what deserves your time right now.
Ah, so both in your work life.
In your personal life.
Makes sense. Everything's so intertwined these days.
Totally. And what's interesting is the article emphasizes how priorities are always changing.
That's so true. What felt urgent a month ago might be completely irrelevant today.
Yeah. Like, why are we still stressing over that thing from last spring?
Right. It's got to be about staying flexible, adapting to what matters and now.
I love that. So listeners, think about it. When was the last time you really took stock of your priorities?
What really matters most to you in this moment?
It's a great question to ask yourself. Because if you're always working on yesterday's to-do list,
you're going to constantly feel behind, stressed, overwhelmed.
Okay, so how do we actually do this reevaluation thing? Any practical tips?
One that jumped out at me was scheduling dedicated time for planning.
Not just filling out your calendar, though, right?
Yeah. It's about really critically thinking about what deserves your attention.
So it's more than just writing down, finish project X.
Exactly. It's like, hold on, is project X actually the priority right now?
Or is there something more urgent, something that aligns better with my goals?
Yes. Making conscious choices about where your energy goes.
Love it. Now, the article also talks about challenging your systems.
Ooh, interesting.
Right. At first I was like, what does that even mean? But then it clicked.
Tell me more.
It's about looking at the tools and processes we use every day.
The how-W of our work.
Exactly. Asking ourselves, are they helping us be productive?
Or are they just adding to the chaos?
So true. Think about your email inbox.
Oh, don't even get me started. It's a black hole.
Right. So many of us are drowning in notifications.
But there are solutions. Filtering rules. Specific times for email management.
The key is finding what works for you.
Exactly. No one-size-fits-all solution.
And that goes for everything. Your calendar, your to-do list, even your grocery list.
It's about those little tweaks, small changes that can make a huge difference.
I'm all about that. And speaking of tweaks, the article even talks about adjusting tasks to your energy levels throughout the day.
Yeah, like, are you a morning person or a night owl?
That whole chronotype thing, we'll dive into that a bit later.
Can't wait. So remember how we were talking about systems? Making them work for you?
Yeah, not against us.
Exactly. Well, the article brings that up again, but in the context of planning.
Okay, so it's not enough to just have a system?
Nope. You got to make sure that system supports your natural rhythm.
Your energy levels, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And that's where chronotypes come in.
Ah, yes. Are you a morning person, night owl, or somewhere in between?
Right. Does it really make a difference when we do things?
Well, according to this article.
Yes.
Big time.
Think about it. You're a night owl.
Like me.
And you try forcing yourself to do deep work first thing in the morning.
Ugh, torture.
Right. You're fighting an uphill battle. Your energy just isn't there yet.
Makes sense. So instead of beating myself up for not being a morning person,
embrace the night owl.
Work with my natural rhythm. Schedule those tough tasks for when I'm actually alert.
Exactly. When you're at your peak, then save the mundane stuff for those lower energy periods.
This is a game changer. Now, what about those times when you can't avoid something during a low energy slump?
Ah, good question. The article suggests being strategic. Like, if you have a morning meeting.
And you're not a morning person.
Right. Schedule in some time beforehand to do something energizing.
Ooh, I like that. Like a quick walk or listening to some music.
Yep. Prep your brain for action.
So it's about more than just time management, huh?
Way more. It's self-awareness. Really understanding how your energy fluctuates throughout the day.
Mindfulness. Planning accordingly.
You got it.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Talk about procrastination.
Oh, everyone's favorite topic.
Right. But the article had some interesting points about why we put things off.
It's not just laziness, is it?
Nope. Remember that perfectionism trap we talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
If I can't do something perfectly, sometimes I just don't do it at all.
The fear of not meeting those impossibly high standards. So we avoid the task altogether.
Ugh, it's so true.
But the article suggests breaking things down, smaller, more manageable chunks.
Oh, that's good. Less daunting.
Right, and less pressure to be perfect. right off the bat.
It's like, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Exactly. Sometimes, though, it's not even perfectionism holding us back. It's just finding the motivation.
Ah, yes. The article had a tip for that, too. Pair a dreaded task with something you enjoy.
Ooh, I love that.
Right, like a little reward system.
Okay, if I finish this report, I can watch an episode of my favorite show, guilt-free.
There you go.
Huh.
It makes those tough tasks a little more palatable.
You know, as we're talking, I'm realizing a lot of these tips aren't just for individual productivity.
Oh, tell me more.
They could apply to managing a team, too.
You're so right, and the article does touch on that. Understanding each team member's strengths.
Weaknesses, work styles.
And their chronotypes.
Right. Don't schedule an 8 a.m. brainstorming meeting for your night owls.
Set them up for success. Schedule things that align with their natural rhythms.
Create an environment where everyone can shine.
Yes. Recognizing that we all have different needs and preferences.
Which a lot of managers forget. They assume everyone works like them.
It's so common, but it's not effective leadership.
Not at all. We're all wired differently.
And embracing those differences, that's what leads to a truly productive team.
Couldn't agree more.
And speaking of differences, the article also highlighted communication styles.
Oh, huge. Some people are direct, others are more subtle, some prefer email, others want face-to-face.
Being flexible is key. Adapt your style to the individual.
Like if you're giving feedback to someone who's sensitive.
Totally different approach than with someone who's more thick-skinned.
It's not just feedback, though, right?
Oh.
It's everything. Delegating tasks, giving instructions, resolving conflicts.
It all comes down to knowing your audience, tailoring your message.
It's like speaking different languages.
I love that. If you want to be understood, you got to communicate in a way that resonates.
And it goes back to what we were saying before about self-awareness.
Mindfulness.
Effective communication requires us to step outside our own heads. Consider the other person's perspective.
It's about empathy, understanding where they're coming from.
Making them feel heard, respected.
Exactly.
This is blowing my mind. I never thought of prioritization as being so tied to communication and empathy.
But it makes sense, right? Because at the end of the day, prioritization is about making choices.
And those choices affect us and the people around us.
100%.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of internal stuff today, energy levels, systems, being assertive.
Yeah.
But this article also touches on something more external.
Which is the impact of our personal lives on our work, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's easy to compartmentalize, pretend those two worlds don't affect each other.
But that's just not realistic.
Totally. I've had times when stress at home completely derailed my focus at work.
It happens to the best of us.
And the article really highlights how important it is for managers to be aware of that.
Oh, absolutely. What their team is going through personally will impact their work.
It all comes back to empathy and understanding.
If someone's dealing with a family crisis, a health issue, or any other personal challenge,
it's going to affect their ability to perform at their best.
for sure. And pretending those things don't exist, that's just setting everyone up for failure.
Exactly. So what can managers do?
The article suggests adjusting workloads, deadlines, to accommodate individual needs.
I can see how some people might be resistant to that idea.
Oh, definitely. Like, it's unfair to other team members, or it'll hurt productivity.
But really pushing someone too hard when they're already struggling.
That's likely to backfire. Big time.
You might end up with subpar work, missed deadlines, even burnout.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, supporting your team while making sure the work gets done.
And that's where those strong leadership skills come in, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Being able to read people, understand their needs, adapt your approach.
Having the right tools for the job.
Yes.
It speaks to the importance of being adaptable as a leader. And part of that is understanding different communication styles, which, of course, the article also talks about.
Because what works for one person might not work for another. Some people like direct feedback.
Others need a gentler approach.
Mm-hmm.
Some prefer email. Others want to chat face-to-face.
Right. It's about meeting people where they are, communicating in a way that resonates with them.
And that takes effort, doesn't it? Stepping outside your comfort zone, trying to understand the other person's perspective.
It's all about empathy, really.
Wow. We started talking about prioritizing tasks.
And we've ended up talking about so much more.
Self-awareness, understanding our energy levels, our chronotypes, challenging our systems, being assertive. And now, empathy, communication, leadership, it's all connected.
Because effective prioritization isn't just about getting things done. It's about making choices that align with our values.
Choices that create a more fulfilling, less stressful life for ourselves and the people around us.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
We've barely scratched the surface of this article, but I think we've hit on some key points, stuff our listeners can actually use.
Totally. Understanding your energy rhythms, planning accordingly, challenging your systems, being more assertive, there's so much to take away.
And don't forget the importance of empathy, understanding ourselves and the people we work with. So, dear listener, we encourage you to dive deeper into these ideas, see how they resonate with you.
And remember, we're always here if you have questions or thoughts on this episode. All our contact info is in the show notes.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, stay focused, stay motivated, and stay true to your priorities.